And we're back, folks, right here on WWE Network and Chill. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and every single Monday right here on the show, I break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today, I really, as I do every week, as you probably know by now, I really have no set agenda as to what I'll be talking about. But this presented a perfect opportunity to review the WWE 24 special on WrestleMania 32 that aired just last Monday after Raw. I had no idea about it. I mean, as you guys know, if you're subscribed here to the channel, then you would know, and you're not a new subscriber from the past week. Last week here on WWE Network and Chill, I talked about the WWE 24 special on Seth Rollins, the rebuild, redesign, reclaim one from last May, which ended up being extremely timely, for one thing. First of all, check out the fucking special. It's amazing. My girlfriend watched it. She loves Seth Rollins, and she loved the special, so check it out. But it was very timely for two reasons. One, Rollins got hurt last week. He's going to have to rebuild, redesign, and reclaim now that he got hurt again. But also because I had no idea until after I filmed that video last week that they would be airing another 24 special. And they typically do the 24 specials, the WWE 24 specials. That's like their ESPN 30 for 30, which I talked about yesterday here on the channel. My thoughts on this was the XFL, cheap plug, check it out. But they typically do their WrestleMania ones right after the Rumble. Like they did the 24 special on WrestleMania 30 right after Rumble 2015 and so on and so forth. This one was equally excellent, despite what your thoughts might have been on WrestleMania 32 on the whole, which was not a great show at all. Kind of sucked, but very disappointing. But I enjoyed it for the time, at the time, whatever. All these months later, about a year later, I can safely say it was not a good Mania at all. It really accomplished nothing. That said, though, these 24 specials are always great. This one is no exception. So I figured instead of, talking about a table for three or whatever else and unfiltered, as we'll get back to in the weeks ahead, I figured I might as well watch it. I mean, I was going to watch it anyway, but review it right here for the channel. So the special opens up with a WrestleMania press conference that took place back in January of 2015 with Vince McMahon announcing that WrestleMania 32 was coming to Arlington, Texas, the following spring for WrestleMania inside the AT&T Stadium, where it would have the largest WrestleMania crowd of all time if they sold the tickets, obviously, for AT&T Stadium. And I think they did. I think even though they boosted the numbers to like 101,000, 101 like 100,000. But I'm pretty sure it beat out the record for WrestleMania 3, if I do remember correctly. But anyway, so the special opens with that. We see AJ Styles talking about, he's at a fan signing talking about how they're taking over Dallas and really how WrestleMania weekend, it's more than just one event on a Sunday. It's not just, let's go to the matches on Sunday night. WWE takes over the entire city all week long with festivities, charity stuff, shows, everything else, signings. So that's what AJ Styles talks about. Triple H is immensely busy, even more so than ever before during WrestleMania weekend. Not only preparing for WrestleMania creatively and also as a wrestler, but also booking and managing TakeOver Dallas on Saturday night, which would be the first ever, or rather Friday night. This coming year it will be on the Saturday night, which I think is a much better move than doing the Hall of Fame the night before, which is always a fucking drag. I mean, I enjoy it, but I think it's better working out the way it will be this year. Anyway, this was the first TakeOver special over WrestleMania weekend, because the year before that, they did a TakeOver show. They did an NXT show. It was a house show on that Saturday night, which was great, by the way, from what I heard, in San Jose, California, right before WrestleMania 31. And that wasn't taped or anything. Some matches were taped, like I think Breeze and Hideo Itami had a match that is on the NXT Best Of Volume 1 DVD that came out about a year ago, which was fucking amazing, by the way. One of the greatest DVDs I currently own. But yeah, so that was a great show, which was not televised. So they talk about TakeOver Dallas, how he idolizes Vince and how busy he is and how he can manage everything at one time. So per the, usual WWE 24 special, such as this one, they focus on a couple people, including AJ Styles. They picked out The New Day, how they're opening a business meeting. And now a year prior, they were at WrestleMania. They were in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They were in the tag title match. So on the kickoff show, really, This year, they were on the main card as tag team champions. They didn't defend the belts on that show, but they were still going in as the hottest act in WWE at that point in time, going into WrestleMania 32. Now we're opening a business meeting with their shenanigans and the whole Bootios thing and all that other great stuff. They talk about where they were a year ago, as I said, the Hall of Fame, which was even a bigger, honor for the New Day. I think the New Day really came out of WrestleMania weekend, despite the fact they got beaten at Mania itself. They really came out of that weekend looking more like stars than ever before. I mean, they inducted Michael P.S. Hayes and really the fabulous Freebirds on the whole. But Michael P.S. Hayes, was really honored to have had them induct him into the Hall of Fame. They did the speech, given they had the Freebird rule, so they had a very entertaining speech. That was a big deal for them. They also talk about we go to a WrestleMania rehearsal. You get the Bootios cereal and how they've evolved from being booed in 2015 to where they are in 2016, being one of the most overacts in and at that point in time, as I talked about. They talk about ideas for their entrance. They had this really wacky entrance I can't recite here, not because it's not appropriate, I just don't remember, but it was something really fucking weird, like where they would come out of a truck, or the back of the truck had fucking butt cheeks that would open up, and it was just bizarre, like very New Day-like, something they would expect from the New Day. They didn't go in that direction. Triple H, I believe, suggested the Bootios box idea, which was brilliant, and they came out with their gear from Dragon Ball Z or whatever. Then we get back to Styles, who said he's nervous about being part of WrestleMania, but he's always wanted to be a part of it. And it's actually pretty cool. You get a quick video, and I'm surprised we've never seen this before, and I really hope they do a 24 on Styles at some point. For what reason, I don't know. I just would love to see a fucking 24 video on Styles. But we get an audition video from Styles, from when he auditioned, really, I guess is the right term, for WWE, I think in the early 2000s, like right before he did the Jack stuff. They didn't give a date, I don't think. But he says how he's like the best at what he does and all this other stuff, which is fucking surreal. And he sounds exactly the same as he does today, which is the funny part. But he recalls his debut in the Rumble, which was absolutely incredible. We go from AJ to Zack Ryder, who talks about his story about overcoming cancer, which I know has been discussed, not on WWE TV. I know it was covered in an edition, like an issue of WWE Magazine many years ago, and it kind of made its way through the internet shortly thereafter. So I think most people know about Zack Ryder overcoming cancer in high school. A very heroic story, and he's a real trooper for that. But he also admits, and we've heard this before, it's really nothing news-breaking, but he does admit that he replaced Neville in the Intercontinental Championship ladder match Mania last year that involved Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Zack Ryder, Stardust, and Sin Cara. Instead of Zack Ryder, it was going to be Neville. And he was involved in the IC title picture for a while there. And it would have been cool to see Neville in a ladder match. We saw him in a ladder match in NXT, which was great, him and Bo Dallas. So hopefully at some point. We also saw him in a ladder match in WWE too. The Money in the Bank ladder match. I forgot all about that until now. But anyway, so he talks about replacing Neville and how, really how unfortunate it was for him to get hurt, but it was an opportunity for him to shine. And he did, and I'll get to that in a moment. And maybe Neville was supposed to win the belt, and I'm not really sure. I don't think he was. Maybe if Neville... I don't know. I heard the day of that Zack Ryder, they changed plans because the plan going in was for Owens to retain the title. But plans changed that day to have Ryder win. So I don't think if Neville was a part of it, they would have had Neville won. I think they would have just had Owens retain because Ryder winning was even more shocking than Neville winning just because Ryder has been really in that, the lower tier, the undercard of WWE for so long, that superstars level tier for so long. It was such a big shock, but I'll get to that in a moment. We get another focus on Charlotte, who was walking into WrestleMania as the WWE then Divas Champion, battling for the Women's Championship that night. Talks about wearing Rick's robe or parts of her, Ric Flair's robe, her father's robe, from his retirement match 8 years earlier, I believe it was, at WrestleMania 24. And she talks about Reid Flair's passing in 2013, how he died only a couple days before her first match, or right before, or I think after she signed with WWE, around that time. So that's pretty sad. There's a lot of parts of these 24 specials that will almost get you crying, and this is part of it. Really emotional stuff. So we get back to Ryder. One of his biggest goals had been to hear his music play at WrestleMania, and he said, "Before I walked out there, I almost cried," was his exact quote, and it's hard to blame him considering he knew going in that he was going to win the Intercontinental Championship, which was a huge deal. His dad was there. Crowd went fucking nuts. Like, for as much as that we shit on WrestleMania 32, That opening match was really good. I wouldn't go so far as to say like one of the best matches of the year. It was a fucking spot fest, really, people. It was a fun match, but it was a spot fest. Like the Money in the Bank ladder match that year, I thought had more chemistry and story behind it and fallout than Zack Ryder winning a match before dropping the belt the next day, But it was a good match, though, so I can't complain. And Ryder's moment was really, really, really cool, especially for someone like me who has been a fan of his since 2009, almost like 8 years at this point. So to see him finally get his due, and I know he kind of got his due in 2011 when he won the U.S. title, but this was a pretty big deal, and that was awesome. He talks about how cool it was, and it was indeed cool for him to go from attending WrestleMania 10, watching Scott Hall win the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match at, I think, MSG, to then have Scott Hall in attendance for WrestleMania 32, watching him win the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match and taking a picture backstage. A really cool, 180 there. We get AJ Styles saying he's soaking it all in before he goes in there and before he goes out for his match with Chris Jericho, which was a big deal for him. And he also says when he gets out that his kids were disappointed that Daddy lost, but he says, trust me, Daddy won tonight. And he's not wrong, because AJ came out. I think he knew at that point. He got a few of the rumblings that he was going over the next night and what the overall plans were, so I can't blame him for not being disgruntled or whatever. And he wouldn't outright say that on the fucking documentary produced by WWE, but you know what I'm saying, that he kind of had a feeling, a lingering feeling that he was going to becoming the number one contender. He was going to become the number one contender to the WWE title the very next night. So, and you wrestle WrestleMania, how can you really be sad about any of that? So we go from there to the New Day's entrance, and we recap their match with League of Nations, which was really nothing at all. But they were honored to share the moment with the legends afterwards. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels twerking with Kofi Kingston. Big E and Xavier Woods sharing a beer and then subsequently getting stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin. The match itself was a complete afterthought. The League of Nations died like a fucking week later. But that moment was cool. Again, as a moment, it was cool. Did nothing to further the future, because New Day were really already kind of, solidified as stars. The League of Nations were fucking losers. But anyway, for what it was cool. Charlotte was happy to have her father there with her. She did it, she cried. She did it for her brother, she said. So she had a real emotional moment before she went out for her match, which Ric Flair accompanied her to the ring for. They had a great match. And we even get some kind of, emphasis on Shane a little bit. Not as much as Ryder and Styles and New Day and Charlotte, but you hear a little bit from Shane O'Mac, talking about his match with The Undertaker coming back. He gets emotional. He says it's really cool to have his kids come down to ringside with him. That was a part of his entrance. I completely forgot about that until I saw this footage. He talks about jumping off Hell in a Cell, how crazy that was. Such a Shane McMahon thing to do. But he breaks down really afterwards. He kind of just gets really, really emotional. He has an emotional moment with Vince backstage. And it's cool, especially just because you hear Shane talk about it in his podcast with Mick Foley about a year ago. And they were talking about how, they were close, but, Vince never really said, yo, good job, son. Like, he never really got his father's acceptance, which is bizarre to think, but I guess that was kind of the relationship they had. So when Shane walked back that night and he hugged his father, it's like you could almost see the tears in Vince's eyes. It's a real emotional moment. So I thought that was really one of the most powerful images coming out of the special. I thought was great. Roman Reigns talks about his match with Triple H. Whatever. It sucked, but Roman Reigns talks about that. Triple H talks about the entrance and how well that went off. But to close off the special, we get a great video package of the entire show set to Watch Me by the Phantoms. Watch Me by the Phantoms. Really good song. So I never heard it before. I thought it was a great song. I actually downloaded it on my iPod right afterwards. But yeah, that's WWE 24 WrestleMania Dallas, WrestleMania 32 special. Great stuff. Just as good as WrestleMania 30 and 31 specials were. Not as good as the events were themselves, but the special for WWE 24 was just quite as good. So check it out on the network when you get the chance. Even if you hated WrestleMania 32, this 24 special is just as good as its predecessors. And also check out the Seth Rollins one, the Roman Reigns one, Booker T one. They got a lot of good 24 specials. The Daniel Bryan one. Maybe I'll talk about that next week. I think this coming week actually marks 1 year since Daniel Bryan officially retired from the ring in WWE, which is crazy to think about. It feels like yesterday that happened, but no, it was indeed a year ago. So maybe I'll talk about that next week or the week after, whenever the 1-year anniversary of the 24 special is. But at any rate, so yeah, check it out on the network. This has been WWE Network and Show with Graham GSM Matthews. As always, guys, support the show. Like the video, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel. More importantly than anything else, stay tuned for further videos going up every single day of the week right here on the Graham GSM Matthews channel. So that being said, guys, check out these socials down below. My Facebook page, my Facebook page at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. You can follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant. I want to hear your feedback on this special. And you can also leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe. Check out the website at nextairwrestling.net. And that does it, guys. So have a great Monday. Enjoy your Raw tonight, or at least try. And I'll catch you guys down the road.